G'day, this is Tournament Takeaway with Fish on a Heater, where we take a look at a battle from a Silver Arena tournament and break it down into little bits and pieces to take a look at them and take what we can into future battles, hopefully get better. Unfortunately, no matter how long I do these videos, I don't seem to be getting better. Let me demonstrate. I had a battle against a first-time player. Now, don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think he was a little too good to be a first-time player, so I don't know what's going on there. But for now, we are, because we have no other information, we are going to take this guy's word for it that he is a first-time player. This is in the Pokemon Go Radio Discord server cup, where I had, despite getting very mediocre results in the past, I had in this particular server equal one at least the last 2 months in a row, and I was really hoping to go for a third. I'd won the first two, came up against this guy, and he got me. He got me. Let's see how the battle went. This is battle number 3. I won the first, he won the second, I believe it was. No, he won the first even. I won the second, so like I was going into it pretty confident, and then he won the first one, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So, I spent ages trying to work out the situation with the leads. That Lanoon actually matches up quite well against my team. It beats the Frostlass, beats the Azumarill, beats the Hypno, and beats the Cloyster all pretty comfortably. The Vileplume, excellent counter for it. The Skuntank, it's pretty even. That's a bit of an even matchup, all depends on shield usage and whatnot. But other than that, yeah, I had to be really careful with that Lanoon. I remember all I remember thinking is like that I had my second and third Pokemon sorted out. I had to make a decision on what to use at the front based on what I thought they would bring, and I called that correctly. They brought their Hypno, and I countered that with the Skuntank. So we're building up energy, and then I was expecting them to try and time the switch out to avoid taking a crunch on the Hypno or having to spend a shield anyway. They were a little bit early, and I expected it anyway because he had done that on, I think it's they had done it on the previous 2 battles, so I saw it coming. I wasn't going to fire that crunch as soon as it was ready. What I should have done is switched myself much sooner. As you can see here, let's backtrack a tad. I charge up a bit more energy because I figured, why not? Before switching out to the Vileplume. But, as anyone more experienced would probably know, Munchlax with some energy can get real dangerous. So by the time I switch out into the Vileplume, it had gotten like 10 licks out, which is, if it was 10, that's 30 energy. So I finally switch out, and then almost straight away, Munchlax gets to a Body Slam, and I'm surprised at how much damage that does. I thought the Vileplume was a bit tankier than that. So I use a shield here, because the longer any battle with Vileplume goes, the more likely you are to beat it, and I'm happy to use my energy here. Because I hate going 2 nil shields down, and if I didn't use my energy there, then the Munchlax would have gotten to another Body Slam, no doubt about that. I wanted switch advantage because I wanted to make sure that Skuntank could get back in with the Hypno. And I wanted to force them into a decision. Do they lose their Munchlax or do they lose a shield? So, happy to use that energy, which they do use the shield, and look, here was my mistake. I, like I said, hate being 2-0 shields down. I don't mind being 1-0 shield down. Like I said, I wanted switch advantage here because I wanted to get that Skuntank back in against the Hypno. So I used my shield here. And then I take down the rest of the Munchlax with Razor Leaps. Now, the Hypno comes back out and just gets rid of the rest of the Vileplume in one Confusion, which I was expecting and I was fine with. I didn't need the Vileplume anymore. But now here I have a decision. Skuntank or Frostlass. Both beat Hypno very comfortably. But I have no shields, and Hypno has used 4 Confusions. It just needs one more to get to a Shadow Ball, and a Shadow Ball is going to... let's see if it takes out a Frostlass completely. Frostlass. So a Shadow Ball against a Frostlass does 100 damage, so when we want 1 Confusion as well, which a Confusion does 12 damage, 112 damage to a fresh Pokemon. So it would leave me with, quick math, 18 HP left, which is another 2 Confusions. That is just enough for me to get to a Shadow Ball, I think, from fresh. So each Powder Snow is 2 turns. We've got, that's 1 Confusion, 2 Confusions, 3 Confusions. So I don't actually get to a... Yeah, I don't get to a Shadow Ball before fainting there. So, let me get back to my screen here. Frostlass was not going to work. So I had to bring in Skuntank, fire that Crunch, even though I know it's going to be shielded. But here's the thing. I've already said that this guy had established a pattern of timing switches out to try and catch Pokemon. I knew he was going to try and catch that charge move, which is why it kind of took me so long to make a decision. I decided in the moment that Skuntank was my better option, and now that I've taken a look back on it, I was right. Like, Skuntank was the better option. Here we go. But of course, they switched out anyway, and like I am so disappointed in myself for not holding off the charge move just for a second. Like I think my thinking was that if I was fast enough, then I'd be able to get it off before he could switch. But of course that wasn't going to work. Of course they knew the Skuntank was coming. And they switched out just in time, so the Azumarill eats the Crunch, and then I'm in a world of pain. Because any charge move Azumarill fires here is going to hurt majorly both of these Pokemon. This turns out to be a Hydro Pump, and to compound the matter, that Hydro Pump leaves Frostlass with just enough health left that it allows Azumarill to farm up a decent chunk of energy to launch onto the Skuntank. Finally uses that shield. I go down, and before I can get to that Crunch, the Hydro Pump comes out. If I'd managed to get one more Poison Jab and get to a Crunch, then I could have saved it. Let's see how much... so it had 40 energy. It had 48 energy, the Hypno. So let's go back here. So how much does the Thunder Punch do to it? That's 40 damage, which is about a quarter of its health. How much do we have left on the Skuntank? Let's go back. It would have survived a Thunder Punch. The Shadow Ball does 46 damage as opposed to the 40. It probably would have survived a Shadow Ball as well. Can it survive the Shadow Ball plus the Confusion? How much damage? 9 damage. Okay, so that's getting very close. That's 55 damage there. I don't think I'm surviving that. So I don't think I survived that anyway because I use up all my energy. If I do somehow get to the crunch and take out the Azumarill, I'm still getting hit by enough damage from that Hypno to take out the Skuntank. Let's move on. Well, that's it really. So yeah, to recap, 3 points of difference. I think we covered 3 points of difference. One was here. It took me too long to switch out here. I thought up, farm a bit more energy can't hurt. Turns out it did hurt, because if I switch out as soon as that crunch is charged, then by the time we get to here, Munchlax can't get to that final body slam that makes me use my last shield. Like I said, I'm happy with that decision to use the energy Sludge Bomb there, but it would not have gotten to that extra body slam there. 2 Razor Leafs would have taken it out from there. And then I, at that point, would have been quite happy to put in Frostlass there, because that was the only thing that that kept me from putting the Frostlass out. If like I said, I knew the switch was probably coming from the Hypno, so a Shadow Ball from Frostlass is going to hurt Azumarill too, even though it doesn't cripple it like it would a Hypno. The Frostlass is a much better matchup against the Azumarill, so that was the one that I wanted to put in, and if I'd had a shield to protect it from the potential Shadow Ball coming, then that would have flipped the matchup as well, so that's number 2. And then switching out here, could I have maybe saved it by like keeping the Skuntank in? Let's see. What's that Azumarill on? We'll say a bit less than half health. So let's take a guess at. Let's go. Azumarill. It's a play rough here. So let's go with 80 HP. And just going back to the video here, how much energy and health did the Skuntank have? Oh, we want to go forward, don't we? No. We want to know like what could the Skuntank have taken enough out of the Azumarill for the Frostlass to do its thing. So what's that? 2 poison jabs, 1 poison jab. I think it had 2 poison jabs already built up. So if we go back here, and 2 poison jabs, and let's say 70 health, no shields, still had a shield left, I believe. Cool, so even if it uses the shield, we can get it down to 15 HP left. And then if we bring in a full health Frostlass, the Frostlass can get to an avalanche. What happens if we just farm it from there? Can we farm it down? It does get to a play rough, which it looks like it, or maybe it doesn't get to the play rough. Interesting. I think that's one of those situations where it taps the play rough but can't get it out, so it faints with a full play rough charged. That's very interesting. And then we continue battling against the Hypno, which had 4 confusions and most of its health. Let's call it 120. Why not? Sandbox mode off. Oh, and it didn't have any shields left. Hypno does still win that, but that is very close. But in the end, I do still think I'm losing that. So, that's our analysis of that one. 3 things. 3 kind of points of interest in that one. There we go. Let's just finish that off. Speed that back up again. That Hydro Pump hurting either of us, but it's kind of needing that shield. That shield would have made a difference, and so I think Sorcerer's Cup has been not a great one for me. I think it's because I've come to rely on switch advantage too much. Switch advantage is not everything. Once you know what Pokemon they've got in the back, it becomes easier to turn around losing matchups. Once you know I need to conserve this many shields for this matchup and etc, then that makes it easier to, you don't need switch advantage as much anymore. Switch advantage is really good for if you've got one hard counter to one of their Pokemon and another hard counter to another of their Pokemon. And I mean hard counter, Toxicroak versus Bastion type counters. Like, that's when switch advantage becomes really important. But aside from that, you know, keeping the shields, keeping parity or advantage with shields is just as important. And I personally need to kind of get that back inside again. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something from this as well. See you next week. Hopefully you can build your ranking and come back for more tournament takeaway.